Hey, hey, welcome back to the Power Rankings. How'd you enjoy the week off, Cal?
Um, well, I don't love tornado weather, but I didn't get any, so I guess it was pretty good.
Fair, yeah. So obviously we didn't talk about the missed week. Weren't really any games happening, but I do want to give a quick shout out before we get into it, to everybody who showed up there. There were probably more bids and more highlight plays than like on a normal week. People were really throwing themselves around and having a good time and running themselves to death at some, eventually we were just playing pickup. Teams kind of fell apart and man, people were working.
Man, that is good to hear. But yeah, let's get into it. Who's our sponsor this
Yeah,
week?
so this week this episode is sponsored by Trevor. Trevor this last week has been doing just a ton. So over the last week, he floated in our league,
Uh-huh.
showed up to some tryouts to watch over the weekend, ran and got a bunch of water when there was not enough. And then yesterday when I had to leave pickup early, stayed behind, closed the gate, sent me a picture of that so I could rest easy. Trevor, I appreciate everything you're doing for me, man. Thanks a ton.
Woohoo! Thanks,
I have
Trevor.
no idea if he's listening to this.
Oh, hasn't Trevor also sent some highlights?
Yes, Trevor has sent me highlights for weeks that he did not play. He's not in this league. He just watched the footage and was like, "Oh, you got to talk about this."
Dang, man, what a hero. Speaking of highlights this week, I know that like footage was a little bit delayed. Thank you, Will, so much for getting footage up there.
Really good.
But because of that, we didn't ask anybody or like follow up with people to send us your highlights. So naturally, not a ton of people did send highlights. Thanks, Rystat.
Yeah,
Um,
Yellow still did, of course.
so yeah, if you didn't get your highlight out there, make sure you send it to us. If you don't remember and you need to watch footage, make sure you do that and send it to us. We'll talk about what we want to talk about.
Here to get into it.
I think so. So this week you have in order yellow on top, finally.
Oh, do you think that one's a jump? This is going to be a fun week.
So you have yellow, white, black, which seems self-serving, purple, green, blue, pink, and orange.
Yeah, so some big jumps here. I do want to mention that this is not entirely reactionary. I would say there were some big names missing last week. And some teams that I had rated pretty highly dropped, and some teams that I rated pretty lowly had a couple of good wins. This is not just me saying, oh, look at 1 week, a team got blown up, we got to drop them down. This is me, I think, looking at teams a little bit more critically about what problems I think they have, what benefits I think they have. Obviously, there's some huge jumps here. I fully expect teams to be mad at me, and I fully expect, particularly Blue, who's playing me today, we're recording this one kind of late, to be putting everything they've got into proving me wrong. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about them. First and foremost, talking about Yellow. Yellow has been a really good team all year, right? They have been right up at the very top. I haven't been able to bump them over an undefeated White. They hadn't played White. This last week was the first time they actually got to play, and Yellow came down with the dub.
Undefeated white, except by yellow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
up until this week, yeah. So I, I feel good putting Yellow in first. They have blown us out of the water twice now,
Mhm.
us being black. Far and away our most difficult matchup. Their defense is incredible, and so we've talked about how they always send us highlights. Everybody like calls out how proud they are of their defense. They are
Mhm.
really putting that as their calling card. And they're just impossible to score on. There was a moment in our game where we were on the goal line and we swung it back for it must have been close to a minute of game time before we eventually turned it. And someone on the sideline was like, "How are we supposed to do that? Like they just poached everything and shut everything down." And I was like, "I mean, yeah, you're patient, you keep swinging it back and forth, and eventually you bust it in." Yellow was making that hard, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to shut down a goal line for that much time. Um, I've talked in the past about how good they are at taking away the unders. Like you as a defensive minded player, it is mentally scary to give up the
The
deep
D.
shots and commit to not letting your person get scored on under.
Yeah.
They do that really well, in part because they have a really good quasi zone. They don't run a zone, but they do always have somebody over the top. They run switches really effectively. They're a terrifying team. Who is their loss to? Do you remember? Let me pull that up.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and I think there's something to be said about deciding what part of the field you're going to contest on. So yellow is not necessarily consistently like they're not consistently stopping unders and then also jamming up the end zone.
Mhm.
They're kind of picking their battleground based on where like the turn happens or and so like if it's the latter half of the fields, they're like, we'll just go clog up the end zone. And if
Yeah.
it's not, they'll take it. But like, I'm not saying that that's like it's very smart and strategic, and then they really commit to it.
Yeah.
Because if you make those decisions and then you're just kind of lackluster, it doesn't work anyway.
Yeah. I do want to point out, I pulled up their records. Their one loss was to White in week one by a single point. So I misspoke. They had lost to White previously.
Okay.
Um, a single point week one. I
First
still
numbers
I
week
feel good
one.
about this rating still. Yeah, particular highlights before I get into stuff they said. I want to talk about their ladies. Particularly, Reagan has done an incredibly good job defensively working in this system. I was talking to Riley, I think, about how effective she has been at taking away unders, and working in that zone. This is her first league with us. She's been a huge part of the reason this team's been so effective. And then Tiff in the opposite, doing a really good job taking away deep space. Also got a run through D on a couple of guys on my team twice, I think.
Oof.
Yeah. So those are the two that jumped out to me. If I pull up some highlights that I got. Oh, I need to talk about this is for 4 consecutive weeks. Zach has been hand blocked and then caught the pass on the rebound.
Which Zach?
Preston
Okay.
on yellow. Yeah. Is there a second Zach on Preston?
No, it's
Yellow?
Princeton is on a different
On
team.
white. Yeah. No. 4 weeks now consecutively, Zach has been hand blocked and then caught the rebound. Ridiculous. Two of those were against me. Drove me absolutely nuts this time. Um, yeah, Cray and Langford throwing some great push passes. That's impressive to say. Um, he did under his lowlights. He just said against Blue, they looked like they were middle schoolers playing against a youth group.
Oof.
So I don't know
Who's
what
the
that
middle
means.
schoolers?
I think yellow. Yeah, I don't know
Okay.
what that means, but it's a fun quote, and I wanted to include it. But yeah, only gushing to say about yellow. It's crazy that like we talked week one about how I think they're a type of player who does well in sand, right? Somebody who is light on their feet and has like a lot of it. And I said like I don't see a lot of those on yellow. Frysted, obviously.
hmm
But everybody else, like they have good throwers, but they don't. I don't know. Like they are just showing that playing smart and working hard, um, wins games.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you say that. I think that there are a lot of people on this team who don't fit that mold and still generate a ton of power when they move.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like
this isn't an unathletic team.
yeah, Riley, Curtis, Cray, like those are all people that like I think you're gonna underestimate
Sure.
to your own disadvantage.
Yeah. If I was making a list preseason of people that I thought would do better than like we expect them to do on sand, I don't think Yellow would have that many people on that list, and I was proven wrong.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Okay, so next you have White.
Yeah.
Uh
Um, okay. We'll talk about it right now. The in our game against White, I don't Caleb, brother, not a foul. It was there was a deep shot that went up that I at the moment I was like, oh, that was just such incidental contact. I don't even know how much contact there was. Not a foul. I think Garrett even said something on the sideline to you about it, right?
yeah, so well, f keep going and I'll interject because there's
Okay.
important
Well,
story pieces.
okay, yeah. So the follow-up is that I can't talk about this too much. I toe the line when it comes to like what is the appropriate amount of like trash talk and like gamesmanship in leagues.
Oh, what line?
Yeah. In this game, I had a score that at the moment I thought was over Caleb, and I was really heated about it. Watching footage afterwards, he like peeled off, so that makes it feel bad, right? Like if you peel off to guard somebody else's person,
Yeah.
and then you get roofed when you weren't in position. But anyways, I peeled off. I had a good catch, and I like 360 wiped him to bring the disc to the ground. After the game, I did think that was past the line. Probably too much. Probably too much. Um,
Yeah, so from the sideline, I just look over out of the corner of my eye while talking to Garrett, and I see you wiping Caleb in like six different ways. And I'm like, oh, that's a lot. Like, what's going on over there? And Garrett said, oh, there's a horrendous foul call. It's probably getting him back. And I was like, oh. Now, what's crazy is I thought that potentially you had the horrendous foul call and he gave you some shit talk for it. And you were wiping him.
oh, that would be so bad.
So finding out that it was the other way was pretty good.
No.
But
But moving past that on now, White is still a good team,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
So a few weeks ago, we jokingly talked about which team would be best if they were like 60-minute games instead of 20-minute games. And Nathan said that they had talked about that and thought it was them because people will get tired, but they won't get less tall.
Yeah.
And man, that is the truth. So we played them in our third game of the night. And I think it ended up like we were winning for a lot of that game before we just got tired at the end and they beat us by 2 or 3, something like that. Um, yeah, they're just they're it wasn't that they have like their energy is good and their endurance is good and obviously the height helps, but they just play without needing to put in like spastics amounts of effort, right? Um, so yeah, they're a great team. They came down with a lot of really good passes. Um,
Yeah, do you remember any specific like key players that it felt like really ran you into the ground there or anything like that?
Nathan had a really good game.
Okay.
Yeah, Nathan in particular, I thought played really well. He was always open. I mean, against teams that aren't yellow, I don't think it's hard to be always open in the third game of the night in sand, right? Everyone is just tired.
You say that, but I think getting open is just as hard as shutting someone down in
Yeah,
sand. Yeah.
yeah, no, but he did a really good job consistently being open.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, and then some of the people from White were missing this week, right?
Marshall, which was a big
Yeah.
one, and I think Kay as well.
Who replaced? Oh, Abby
It's
replaced
like
Kaylee.
Kay,
Okay,
but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, I wish I had more to talk about White, because I still think that they are one of the strongest teams in the league.
yeah.
Um,
Do you think that like we'll see another white yellow rematch in the final? Is that
uh,
the place where we can start predicting?
yeah. So, in our last league in indoor, I talked a lot about how there were a lot of upset potentials there, right?
Right.
I think personally, having played these teams, I don't see. I think it'll be very difficult for anybody to beat either of these two teams, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like there are a bunch of other teams that have like crazy star power that just aren't playing up to their potential. And it's not like white and yellow are overplaying their potential, and I think that won't last in the playoffs, right?
Yeah,
Um, if I had to predict, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see these two teams. There's a lot of frisbee to be played, right?
there's a lot of frisbee. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think this is a smart team. The height helps,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. As you know, on your team
Yeah.
with all of your
Yep.
tall kids. Speaking of, are you good to move into black?
Yeah, just everyone on white. You had lots of highlights. I'm sorry I don't have more positives to say about you. You had lots of really good highlights. Oh, normal hit the ground a ton. I want to shout that out.
Oh yeah, there was
That's
something I
surprising.
was talking about at the end of league last week. He said, what was it that he did? I feel like he
Call me
did.
an asshole,
Well,
but
that
that's
is
late.
that's a really good highlight. I love that. And I'm surprised. No, because you said something about him hitting the ground and having phenomenal defense, and he's like, we don't count defense, which is a crazy like he must be a defensive machine type thing. I feel like it was like a huck or something. Maybe a hand. I'm not sure.
Being a huck.
Okay.
He might have.
Anyway,
Yeah.
normal. You did a lot of cool things.
And because I called Caleb out, Caleb had some really good throws as well.
Oh, love to hear it. Love to
Yeah.
hear it. Okay, so next up,
Is
we've got black. Yeah.
is black. Yeah, I am a little nervous about having myself or having my team up this high. I think that we have great potential. I mean, like I said, we were beating white for a lot of that game before we ran out of steam at the end there. I love our chances if it was like round one of a game slot. I think we have great potential to beat everyone. I still think that we play some of the simplest offense in this league and defense, right?
Well, that makes sense. Like you have a team of people like you who all like know a lot and think like simple pictures are the best, and a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
So like putting
No,
that
we
together.
talk a lot. I think that our offense to me frequently just feels messy.
Mm,
And we clean it up. We have been like week one, I said we won games because we made more plays. When we win games, it's because we're making more plays.
mm,
But we're just capable of making plays.
yeah,
The tall
absolutely.
kids obviously are really capable of that. Peyton has been really good at hitting the end zone and like hitting people. I've talked before about how he was good at hitting people low. He's continued being really good at that.
Yeah.
We don't have a ton of self-inflicted, like we don't drop the disc,
Hmm.
really.
That's nice.
Yeah, we have great potential. It was A good week for us, minus yellow embarrassing us, but yellow, we're not the first team that's happened to.
Fair enough. Yeah, and every time I look over, Emmy's looking more athletic
Yeah,
on sand, so
yeah,
that's
yeah.
been
Emmy
pretty
has
impressive.
been absolutely huge for us.
Yeah.
Um,
I did think that your positioning of Black in third place was kind of contentious, but if I'm looking at the actual standings, Blue is above you guys in wins,
look at
but
the
they have
other.
negative 18 points and you guys have positive 3.
So I'll talk more about Blue when we get to them. When Blue loses, they lose very bad.
Okay, yeah.
Um, we'll talk about Blue more when we get there.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that like if there was a team that I thought had a reasonable bid for that third place spot, I wanted to give you more shit for it, and I think that this is pretty reasonable.
I have myself here because I legitimately would feel more positive than not at beating any of the other teams. Orange has had our number.
Mm.
We'll talk about Orange some too. That one is a rating I'm a little nervous about.
Orange that you put in last place as your number.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, very well.
Um,
So in fourth you've got purple, which is pretty exciting for me because it means that we didn't lose for nothing.
yeah. Before I move to purple, I mentioned Peyton. Every
Okay.
week Peyton puts like a page of like notes together that has
Mhm.
been huge for our team.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember if I've shouted him out for that before publicly. I want to make sure that I do. It's been really, really cool.
Nice. Yeah. I love somebody who's invested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now moving on to purple. Yeah, so purple, this is the first of the big jumpers this week. But like looking at the results, they went 2-0. They lost to pink, which is a little bit of a confusing loss, but that was the very first game of the night, and sometimes you take I don't know. The first game is maybe they just weren't quite as warmed up.
Pink was pretty fired up after that, so that was
Yeah,
good
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pink had all the energy there.
Uh-huh.
Watching Purple, I just saw a team that is like I mentioned that Black is winning games by just making more plays.
Yeah.
Purple is winning games by never having to make a play.
Yeah.
Um, they like every single score I have, I was like, oh, that looked super easy. Like, yeah, that looked super easy.
Yeah.
They're smart. They're not making mistakes at all.
Uh-huh. Now, okay, so I will say, in their defense, I think sometimes it looks super easy when they're making plays. At least when Green played against Purple, the number of oh, I see I'm about to strike up the field, so I'm gonna jump this in was insane. Do you know how hard it is to
Yeah,
long jump the disc in bounds, like
sure.
in the
Yeah,
end zone in
yeah,
sand?
yeah.
Like,
That's
yeah.
true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, like Kenneth, Alex, Miguel, Lam, each of them had at least one. Alex probably had like 3 or 4 where like just jumping it in. And then like Alicia hit the ground like rolling layouts for like
Yeah.
3 different discs.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
true.
I think sometimes it just looks calculated.
That's fair. I guess I mostly mean that I don't see like this isn't a team that's relying on deep shots. This isn't a team that's relying on out jumping people. This
That
isn't a
is true.
team.
They do not like their deep shots.
um yeah, Southard, who told me that I'd been mispronouncing his name as Southers
Oh,
this entire
no.
time. Wasn't here, I think last week. Do you remember you played them? Was he there?
Like
He
yeah, the last like
yeah,
yeah, we played against him.
he was there? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So he's obviously someone who will throw himself around. I'm sure he against us he did for sure.
Uh-huh.
Um
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is the team this impressing me because they're making it easy. Oh, I want to shout out Lom. I mentioned that they're not a deep shot team. I saw Lom use his lefty to throw deep a couple of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
That looked good. He also did a great job working in the deep space as always defensively. I saw some good plays.
Yeah.
Um, Sunil told me something. Oh, this happened. Poor Sunil. It's going to happen again. He told me of a really cool thing that happened that I was right there on the sideline for. I think there's like a toe drag score, if I remember correctly. I was on the sideline. I'm sorry, Sunil.
Was Sunil there this week?
Pretty sure. Maybe this was the week before. Maybe that's why I don't remember it because it was
So long ago?
maybe that was during the yeah, I think I was thinking of the pickup week. Cool. That makes me feel better.
I was like, I don't remember playing against Sunil. That would be kind of bad. Um,
Bailey's hands have looked good.
he wasn't there this week either, was she?
Okay, I'm remembering. I'm pulling up. She probably wasn't. No, the last time I played against Purple, Bailey's hands look good. Thank you for keeping me honest.
Oh, sorry.
No, 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 no. I appreciate it. I remember seeing her. I'm just pulling up
Yeah, we talked
images in my head.
talking to Bailey about like Kenneth sending out like wild strategies, and it is really frustrating to have like finally played purple And for them to be doing exactly the strategies I sent to my team, but doing them right. So that was humbling to see like the exact offense that I wanted to use working really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes that happens.
No,
I do think that their zone is sometimes very effective and sometimes in shambles.
they were
And
under
that is how a zone be in
feels.
sand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think so while I feel comfortable with this positioning here, I think that purple um I because they're just making things easy. I worry when they get to the playoffs if they'll have a next gear to like step into or how much upset potential they'll have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um I I mean, they have it. I would love to see, so I occasionally will call people out. Kenneth sometimes plays passively. So we have called Blanchard for he'll like dish it forward and then like wants to, okay, if the defense is there, clear out, let my team like work without me.
Mhm.
Sometimes he'll run his like give and go stuff, but even that, it's mostly like getting a reset dump or something. I would love to see Kenneth. He's tall. I would love to see him do more work downfield.
Oh, yeah, he did do some downfield defensive things against us, which
Okay,
was kind of
okay,
exciting.
awesome. Yeah.
Mostly against Kiana, so like but yeah, like I agree that when he is choosing to use that height and sand, it is working out well for him,
Yeah,
and I would love to see more.
yeah.
Cool. Anything else about purple?
No.
Cool. Moving right on to green. Kind of smack in the middle. I think this bumps us up, which is cool. Um, yeah, we knew that we were gonna have Snickers very few weeks. We're getting lucky he is in this week, so that's pretty exciting.
Nice.
But last week we did not have Jason Davis, Snickers, so Jacob Ward, or Tati.
Yeah, yeah.
Thankfully, we ended up with some floaters, so that really bailed us out. We had Stephen Easton, who, for somebody who hates sand,
He's very good on sand.
is so OP on sand. Like, I wouldn't be capable of hating sand if I played like Steven
Sure.
does in it.
Yeah,
And then we had Pat again, and we had Kiana filling in for Tati,
yeah,
which was a lifesaver.
yeah. No, great players. But Snickers and Jason are like two of the top players in. I mean, I can say OKC because Snickers is one of the Tulsa kids. But
Boo.
like in this league, they're two top players. Steven, Pat, very good players. I think like probably that I would expect your team to do a little bit worse with that change.
Mhm.
And you had two good wins.
We had two
Um,
good wins.
yeah, I think beating Orange like that's by three. I know they're both beneath you here, Orange and Pink.
Yeah.
Good wins though. I yeah.
Yeah, we've beat Orange before when they had Eric, which was almost easier because if you can make an Orange team make a consistent mistake, there's a really easy way to get under Eric's skin. And if our team is good at one thing, it is making the weak link make a mistake.
Also, like Orange had Garrett floating for them as that replacement.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah,
Garrett roofed me like three different times and was taunting me for it, as he should. But
yeah.
yeah.
I want to talk to you about Ben. So
Uh-huh.
before this week, when your two guys were gone, Ben said like, "Oh, I'm not ready for this."
Yeah, I
How
picked up.
did
I was
how
like, "You
did
ready for this week?" And it
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, he did phenomenally. He really stepped up. Andrew really stepped up. Steven, the only other person on my actual team, really stepped up. But it was cool to see. So we waltzed in there and game one, I was like, okay, we're not gonna have Kiana yet, but it's okay because Orange is playing Savage and I'm playing Savage, so we'll just kind of sub sometimes. We've got these other players, and I do think that there was a lot of Supercell energy with Ben, Pat, Steven. But yeah, I said that my goal for the week was since we don't have any of our air quote traditional handles for the team, that everybody is that handle, and I wanted everyone to have a Huck quota. I don't care if it made it to a person. I don't care if it was good. I don't care if it got blocked 3 feet in front of them. I wanted them to aim for a certain quota per game per person.
Nice.
They did. And like some of those were completed. And the ones that weren't, a lot of them went pretty far. And then we turned around and played defense and got the disc back
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
It was really exciting to see. Like I asked for something new and kind of dumb. And they took it seriously. They
yeah.
did it, and we came out with some dubs that we were not expecting. We did also have some breakout cheers where we said Jason is the Limfac. So
Look at the numbers. I'm just saying.
which is not true at all. But I think like no, like it's really hard when like one of your like key like team energy leaders and on the field leaders is gone,
Yeah.
especially when like one of them has been gone so much we're not even like used to him, to turn around and be like, oh, like we can step up and do this.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to see just how much they did
Mhm.
step up and do this. Andy, I keep doing the same shout out for Andy, but he really does come out of nowhere on defense and like D up, especially in the end zone. And people just aren't expecting it every time. He
Yeah.
he will just he'll
That's
root
true.
somebody,
Yeah.
he'll run through to them, like whatever he needs to do, but he really does just come out of nowhere for it. And I love to see it.
Yeah.
I think we got even better at doing our switches instead of a zone.
Yeah, so I have something I want to talk there. While watching your games, we were kind of gathering up. Natalie on our team is like, "Oh yeah, there's Kelly on a guy again." I was like, "Yeah." Your whole team does that particular. I mean, I've shouted you out for it before. Uh, Kiana scored against.
Galen.
Was that Galen? There
Oh,
was.
she
I
did
thought it
burn
was.
Galen a couple of times, but yeah, we did play purple.
Yeah, there was a time. I guess that was the one loss you had.
Uh-huh.
But she had like three consecutive possessions where she was in the end zone against Miguel, I
That
think.
makes sense. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Kenneth
Yeah.
caught two, like scored two of them.
Uh-huh.
Um, Picked up that immediately. Like
Yep.
your team is incredibly good at running those switches.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I also really appreciate about my team is that if positionally, because we're doing like switches and like not a zone, but not a zone, um, the guys are frequently on a lady matchup and they take it seriously. And being able to take a 1/4 of a team's players out of play is really important.
Mm.
And so when they get those matchups, instead of just letting it drop and letting people work through their ladies, which has happened in other like indoor league, especially for me, like if there's a switch, like people just drop the lady and that's not viable. And here,
Yeah.
like my team does not do that. They take it really seriously. They switch off again as soon as like the switch is available. And that's the reason it works, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
No,
agree. I'm really impressed. I love how consistently they've been calling the switch, especially some teams were able to really get the jump on us where they would switch the handle into
yeah.
like the deep. And like we figured out really good systems for like communication there and like what to do. And I've been really impressed that like I didn't say, hey, this is a problem. Like I think Andy said, hey, this is a problem, and Ben said, hey, why don't we do this? And I was like, yeah, let's
Nice.
go.
Nice.
Yeah. This week, most notably, there was never a time on offense where I looked up and I said, ooh, I wish Steven had been, my Steven, not floater Steven, had been in that
No.
space at a different time or had like gone here instead. Every single time he was in the right spots.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, it
That's
was
huge.
huge, and we could feel it.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it, like I feel like he was not as excited about that kind of compliment, but it really matters, especially when that's 1/4 of the team.
Awesome.
Um, one more thing I have for you.
Okay.
So, you said, "Oh, are you ready for this matchup?" And I was like, because as you know, Allison is probably like the toughest matchup for me. She's a little bit taller, she's very strong, she knows what she's doing, she goes the right space, she has good hands.
You've talked a lot to me, even outside this, about your difficulties guarding Allison.
Yeah, yeah, I think that like
Going back to last.
playing defense on someone who has no fundamental issues in sand when they're taller and stronger is hard. And you were like, "Oh, don't worry, just like you take the space that's yours." So I did try really hard do to do the turkey method and turkey from Tulsa.
Turkey is a person.
Not like
Kelly's not like
that's a chicken.
gobble. I don't know.
Yeah, to do the turkey method and kind of like plant and hold my ground because like in sand you're not gonna like
Yeah, take a charge.
take a
Yeah.
charge, take a charge. And I did that pretty well, but she was a little bit frustrated. She's like, you can't body block someone, which is true. If you move your feet, you cannot. But if you are fully still, you can. And the only time that really works is in like the 2-inch window in the end zone. And I was like, well, I guess like I can if I hold still. I'm really trying to do this because you're really good. But later there was something she bid for it and caught or didn't catch it. I don't remember. She bid for a disc and I like tripped and I like landed above her. But I didn't touch her, which I was very excited about. But it was like very uncomfortable and probably we were on the ground because I got in the way at some point. And I was like, look, if you're gonna call this one, I will also contest this one, which is such a shitty thing to say. Um, and also like I don't know where that attitude came from. I think that like you said, take your space, and what I heard was be an asshole like Ryan. So Allison, I would like to apologize for my garbage attitude. And also like I don't think it really affected anything. You guys played great and got the dub. So
Nice.
yeah.
Good deal. Yeah. Hilarious differences here. You have, sounds to me like some generally, um, the difference between that interaction and my interaction with Caleb, hilarious here.
I mean that's fair. I don't think that my energy was good though.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Also like the playing purple was really fun. Purple is the team that like people high five you when you do something cool.
Yeah,
And it's
they
just
do have good.
like, yeah, it's really nice to like cheer for Lon when he throws a huck and then like turn around and have Miguel be like, "Oh, that bid you had was sick." Like, love it.
All right.
Okay, moving on. We have blue, and
Yep.
this
So
is
this is a huge drop. So first off, um, to look at the numbers, Blue got crushed by Black. They were missing Coco. They had Clark floating for him, but Clark missed a lot of that game. So for one, I mean that's a huge player they're missing.
Mhm.
For two, playing a man down on sand is just
Rough.
brutal, right?
Yeah.
And when that man is Coco. Sure,
Yeah.
yeah. So we beat them 14-2. I don't think that's quite representative. They also got dumpstered by Yellow though at the end there. I don't know the
What was going on?
exactly what was going on there. I want to point out that this drop isn't because they had two really bad losses necessarily, right? Um, I do think though that this had me look at their team a little bit closer.
Uh-huh.
So I've had them really high just because I like so many of the people on this team. Like I like them as people, and also I like them like for sand.
Uh-huh.
When I started being a little bit more objective and like looking through, yeah, they're six like so they're 6-6. Their wins have been tight. Their losses have been really bad.
Okay.
They don't have that I was able to see like a really statement like, oh, this is a big, big win.
Hmm.
Like this is a good win against a good team. Um, I think that I may have been overrating them a little bit based on their roster still, which I'm okay doing towards the beginning.
Uh-huh.
I think something I noticed when I played them is that similar to like Black, they're not their system is really just like throwing the disc and like having to go make plays.
Hmm.
Um, they are not putting the disc in a position where that's easy. I think they shot themselves in the foot a lot.
Mm.
Maybe that's just a one-time thing, and this they'll get over it this week. But I do think that they have some people on this team that we look at and go like, oh yeah, sometimes this person will give you turns.
Yeah.
Good players, right?
Yeah.
Like Will, Cam, and Gavin are all good players. And these are all players who are sometimes known for making more than their like giving the defense the disc on
More
their
than
own a
this
little
one.
bit.
Yeah. Counterpoint though, Max was using his height this week.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, he roofed Bernston,
Yeah,
which he
that's
was
crazy.
like in a good position and putting in effort. Like it
That's
was really good. He just kind of plucked it from the air. Um, they were missing some ladies as well, right? Like I know Coco is out due to injury and he's out for a bit, but I think gonna be back for finals.
I believe Duda, Carly, and Shadi were all there
They were?
for
Okay, okay, okay. Cool. I didn't play them this week, so maybe I
yeah.
just missed them. But yeah, I think that like missing Coco is a tough like energy thing because I think that you can overshoot or do something wild
Yeah.
and that can get made up a little easier. Um, yeah, so I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I do just have highlights. I want to Cam White hit the ground a lot. I mean, he does that on grass, so like of course he's doing it here. But he was really still putting in effort here. I also appreciated even in a rough game against us with a couple of contentious calls. The energy on this team was contentious calls. There were some stalls. That's all. It's not like we
Yeah.
got into a fight downfield or something. The energy from this team was good. There was a potential that people get like really salty or frustrated or
Mhm.
I thought the energy on this team still seemed good, so I want to shout that out.
Yeah,
Uh,
good leadership and like good attitude people, so
yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I this one could bite me in the butt. We play them today, so I am sure
I would
that
be thrilled if this fit, but that would be great.
this one could bite me in the butt. But I think the teams above them had some really good wins recently, and I think yeah.
Yeah.
But I think this one and you are the two teams that I would be worried about seeing round one.
Okay, very nice. Next up, if you didn't have anything else for blue,
Yeah, we can move.
next up we have pink.
Yeah, so Pink first off beat Purple.
Woo woo.
So I apologize to Pink for still having them 3 slots below them. I think just this highlights that like even if the records are a lot more spread out, um, than we ideally want. Like, right, having a 2-10 team and an 11-1 team isn't ideal. We like to have
Right.
more people in that group. I think the matchups are still close. And
Yeah.
I think that's what that shows. I thought that Pink did a really good job hitting the ground a lot
Hmm.
this week. I saw Blanche and Galen both have some really nice dives.
Ooh. Oh yeah, Blake
Uh,
had a sick one.
Great dives. Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't see a ton from him. Um,
Like form perfect. He was pretty mad it bipped off his fingers. And
yeah,
like honestly from the sideline, I was
you
pretty
didn't
mad.
have to say that part. I
Okay.
just say lay out and look. No, no, no. Yeah, he didn't catch it.
Oh,
Um,
other sick bids too, but there was one that was like maybe the coolest bid I've ever seen from Blanche.
yeah.
Yeah.
I need to call out Galen for saying that 3 games wasn't enough and he wanted to play 6 games and then looking absolutely gassed at game two.
I'm
Uh,
glad you took me seriously. Look, I think that if you think games aren't enough, then you aren't putting in enough work. Like it
yeah,
is up to you individually to gas yourself.
right.
Put in
Yeah,
more.
yeah. But he played well.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
Yeah, he's running everywhere all over
yeah.
the fields. I'm glad he took it
Yeah.
seriously.
Gabe, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I wanted to see Gabe. Like, you're the tall guy. I put quotes on here, but
Uh-huh.
like, you're the height on this team. You're gonna have to go defend your space. It looked like he was doing that more
Let's
intentionally.
go.
He was bodying people up. He was
Uh-huh.
tracking anything deep. He
Good.
made some good plays. Um, yeah. Outside of that, I'm playing through anything else that I saw. I know you played this team, so I don't know if you remember anything else.
Yeah, I think that Brittany has been working really hard on like her step out on like her flicks and her rounds and stuff. And weirdly in sand has more of a step out, which is exhausting to guard. Like if somebody is willing to like really lunge and step low, like what are you gonna do in sand? Now you have to step low.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Kenzie has been working really hard on her flicks.
Okay.
And like making sure that like her body positioning is in a good place and setting her up for success.
Was she hitting him this week?
She was hitting them this week,
Nice.
yeah. So,
Um,
and notably, she has had a cough that's made her sound like an old man for at least a week. I'm sure inhaling the sand was not her favorite. Like she did look like she was feeling it, and it didn't really seem to change her play at all. Just when she got
nice.
off the field and on the sideline, she was like, "Ugh."
Nice.
So yeah, love to see that.
Nice. Summers hasn't been there in like 4 weeks. I feel like I hope so. I feel like every week Blanche will say we need a floater. Summers is missing. But like he was there this weekend. He was playing.
Okay,
And a few weeks ago he showed up to skills and drills on Monday,
that's true. Yeah,
Tuesday. So I don't know what's going on with Summers.
needs more skills.
Call out. I'm
Uh,
glad that Pink got their second dub. I expect we have what, 2 weeks of play and then finals or
uh-huh.
weekend finals.
1 week and
Okay.
this week and then 5-8 and then
Gotcha.
finals. Yeah.
Okay. I think Pink's still a scary team. Good job on that second dub.
Uh-huh.
Not quite willing to have them above purple yet, but it was a good dub.
Yeah. Okay, and then in last place you have Orange.
Yeah. This team is 2-0 against us, maybe 3-0.
Okay.
I could do a quick scan. We have not beat them, I can tell you that much. Yeah, so they beat us week 1, they beat us here week 2, and okay, 2-0 against us. Cool.
Which is kind of crazy because I think we're 2-0 against them.
Yeah, yeah. They've had our number a little bit.
Yeah.
So they have lost Eric for an indeterminate amount of time.
Right.
The same as with Coco. Now we'll give floaters that we can,
Yeah.
kind of cover as best they can.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, this is going back to blue. Clark looked a little bit shell-shocked playing on sand. Sand
Yeah.
is tiring. I don't
Yeah.
know if he was expecting
Fair.
that. Garrett, I didn't see how Garrett played.
Really well.
I view Garrett as just as good of a player as Eric. Like there's no drop there, right?
Right.
Like usually, right?
Right.
Eric's played, I guess not even more on sand. They were both in the last league.
That's fair, that's fair. I think that they're on not sand, their play style is a lot more similar, and on
Yeah.
sand, Garrett is basically a cutter.
So that's what I wanted to talk about. It has been impossible every single week for me to get to Orange and not just say like Eric, man, right? That's what's happened
Yeah.
every single week, right? He is not just doing his like quarterback the disc, move it up the field play. He's taking shots. He was killing people in the deep space. He was getting multiple hand blocks. He was getting deep Ds. Eric was really, I don't want to say everything for this team because that minimizes a lot of other very good players
That's
on this
true.
team.
Yeah.
Eric was a lot for this team. I think whoever we replace them with, that adjustment is going to be hard.
Yeah.
This is another one that could bite me in the butt. I was looking at games this week and I thought, man, those are not great losses. And again, I think this is a team that is beating me, so they must be good.
Right.
But outside of that, um, I don't know. I think that obviously there's still a lot of athleticism on this team, right?
Hmm.
Juicy is someone in particular who is very is really fast, able to jump really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Keegan has a lot of experience.
Hmm. And he's been using his height a lot more in
Yeah,
sand. Yeah.
yeah.
Andrea just doesn't stop. Like
Yeah,
she is just as fast.
Andrew is somebody else who rose on sand more than I expected,
Yeah, agreed.
for sure.
Agreed.
Um, yeah, I think Orange has played well. You played against them, so I don't have. If you have any highlights, let me know.
I think that pulling out the dub on Orange felt good, and it wasn't a guarantee.
Yeah, it was what, a 2 point game,
I don't remember.
3 point game, 10-7.
Game.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think everything that you're saying makes sense. I do think losing a like core component player is weird. Like even if you
Yeah.
replace them with someone else, like if they do anything different, you're gonna have to kind of adjust. So yeah, I'm not really sure. I also know that like in our first game, I was playing Savage against them, and Andrea was also playing Savage.
Okay,
I
that's
think
oh,
that
not
makes it
having Sarah
very
changes a lot.
changes, yeah, like
Yeah.
your handle movement and who's where. Um, so
It is also worth pointing out that they beat Pink by 5 this week.
well,
I sort of forgot about that. Maybe these last two should have been flipped, but like, I don't know. I can't have Pink in the last every week.
yeah, um,
Prove me wrong, Orange.
yeah,
I think they can.
I think this week will be an exciting tell-all for what Orange is
Yeah.
going to do without Eric.
The thing that I'll be interested to see, I think, you lose a handle like Eric, and it's like, okay, well, who's going to move the disc? No, I think it's going to be who defends the deep space and who scores when the field gets small and congested and tight.
Yeah, I think that's a good take.
Because I mean, their deep throws to both their ladies are still going to be on point.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Cool. All right. Yep. So there you have it for the week. We've got yellow, white, black, purple, green, blue, pink, and orange. And then this week was just floater central.
We had a lot of floats.
A ton of floaters. I know I had Kiana, Steven, and Pat.
Yeah, half your team. We
Mhm.
had Clark on blue, Garrett on orange, who we mentioned. I had Denton on black,
We had John Liaz on pink.
of course.
Yeah. Man, I'm gonna feel really bad if we're oh, Abby on
Abby
white.
on white.
There were a ton, and you guys really stepped up. We like reached out to people individually.
Trevor on white.
Trevor. So yeah, thank you guys so much for coming through. Most specifically, thank you, Kiana, for joking that you would float and then letting me say, please come float at the last minute. So.
Yeah, having Lady FMP
Having ladies, yeah.
even more important. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Alrighty. Well,
Thank you so much.
see you out there today.